Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to start reading on page 52 at line 240. Sri Aurobindo's been speaking about the earth consciousness, and now he'll speak more specifically about our human consciousness. We're on page 52, line 240. Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things. Yet, a foreseeing knowledge might be ours if we could take our spirit's stand within, if we could hear the muffled demon voice. Too seldom is the shadow of what must come cast in an instant on the secret sense which feels the shock of the invisible, and seldom in the few who answer give the mighty process of the cosmic will communicates its image to our sight, identifying the world's mind with ours. Our range is fixed within the crowded arc of what we observe and touch and thought can guess, and rarely dawns the light of the unknown, waking in us the prophet and the seer. The outward and the immediate are our field. The dead past is our background and support. Mind keeps the soul prisoner. We are slaves to our acts. We cannot free our gaze to reach wisdom's sun. Inheritor of the brief animal mind, man, still a child in nature's mighty hands, in the succession of the moments lives. To a changing present is his narrow right. His memory stares back at a phantom past. The future flees before him as he moves. He sees imagined garments, not a face. Armed with a limited, precarious strength, he saves his fruits of work from adverse chance. A struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate. He waits to see the consequence of his acts. He waits to weigh the certitude of his thoughts. He knows not what he shall achieve or when. He knows not whether at last he shall survive or end like the mastodon and the sloth and perish from the earth where he was king. He is ignorant of the meaning of his life. He is ignorant of his high and splendid fate. Only the immortals on their deathless heights, dwelling beyond the walls of time and space, masters of living, free from the bonds of thought, who are overseers of fate and chance and will, and experts of the theorem of world need, can see the idea, the might that changed time's course, come maned with light from undiscovered worlds. Here, while the world toils on with its deep, blind heart, the galloping hooves of the unforeseen event, bearing the superhuman rider, near and impassive to earth's din and startled cry, return to the silence of the hills of God. As lightning leaps, as thunder sweeps, they pass and leave their mark on the trampled breast of life. So we'll go back to line 240. So Bebel, you like to start today?
Shraddhavan, the previous line, I didn't understand this one, which rarely we surprise or vaguely pained, or an outcome of suppressed realities. That the suppressed reality line is to the...
Yes, that's what we read last week.
Last week, yes.
Yes. That's at line 230 the sentence begins.
Yes.
It's actually a very mysterious sentence. Shall I read that and we have a look at that again?
Please.
It's about us human beings. Page 52, line 230. The events that shape the appearance of our lives are a cipher of subliminal quiverings which rarely we surprise or vaguely feel, are an outcome of suppressed realities that hardly rise into material day. They are born from the Spirit's sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. Yeah. But who shall pierce into the cryptic gulf and learn what deep necessity of the soul determined casual deed and consequence? Sri Aurobindo is saying that we don't know why the things that happen to us happen. He says the events that shape the appearance of our lives, we think of them as just happening like that by chance. But he says actually they are like a cipher, like a secret language, a code. They are expressing something, only we don't understand what these events that shape the appearance of our lives, what are they expressing? He says they are a cipher, a code for small movements quiverings, subliminal quiverings, things that are moving, making small movements below the level of our waking consciousness. The subliminal is below, it's the realm that we access sometimes in dreams, or if we're in deep meditation, we may become aware of some deeper kind of knowledge or feeling that's not part of our normal waking consciousness, the subliminal. So there in the subliminal, things are moving. And very rarely do we notice, we don't surprise those movements. Or if we feel them, we only feel them very vaguely. But those quiverings, those small movements, he says, are an outcome, they're a result of suppressed realities, of things that are very, very real, but we keep them pressed down below the level of our waking consciousness. And they're very, very, only with difficulty and rarely they rise into material day, into the light of this material world that is our normal consciousness. And he says those suppressed realities and those quiverings, very mysterious, 2 lines, they are born from the Spirit's sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. That's what gives birth to those quiverings and those suppressed realities. They arise because there's a sun, a complete power of light and energy which is involved in those secret subliminal realms. It's a sun which contains hidden powers, secret powers. And that sun is digging a tunnel. It's using its hidden powers to dig a tunnel, as if like somebody boring underground, like in a mine or something, no? It's not digging a tunnel through rock. It's digging a tunnel through emergency. When we hear or use this word emergency, we mean something unexpected that's happened, something dangerous. There's the emergency room in the hospital where people have to be dealt with immediately, you know? Something shocking, something surprising, unexpected. But here Sri Aurobindo is using this word in another sense. He means the realities, the things that are emerging. They are going to come up, out into the light of what we think of as reality. So they are packed, those things that are going to be manifested, packed closely, densely in the subliminal, and this spirit sun is digging a tunnel through that will allow these things that we are not aware of to emerge into the light of material day. But he says, but who is going to pierce, cut through into that mysterious gulf, that deep, dark place which is the subliminal, and find out, going to learn, find out what deep necessity of the soul determined casual deed and consequence. These things that just happen, actually, they are determined by some deep necessity in the soul They happen because that sun is pushing things to happen, emerging things. And so even our casual deeds, things that we think we do just like this, just like that, without any intention, or things that just happen, consequences, we think they are meaningless, but they are not meaningless. They are part of a secret language expressing these hidden realities that are pressing to be manifested. Yeah?
So, I continue.
Yes, please go ahead at line 240, Berbel. Yes.
Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things.
Yes. We are focused on the things we have to do every day. No? And so our eyes are fixed on this external scene. We're not even paying very, very much attention to what's happening within us, unless it's something very disturbing or exciting. No? Mostly our eyes are fixed on the external scene. But we are aware of things happening in the world around us. We do hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance, some of the dreadful things that are happening in the world. And then we may wonder, why are things happening like this? Then we wonder at the hidden cause of things. Sarojini.
A foreseen knowledge might be ours if we could take our spirits stand within. If we could hear the muffled diamond voice.
The muffled diamond voice. He says we could actually know in advance. We could have a foreseeing knowledge of what is going to happen. If we could take our spirit stand within, if we could be concentrated in our inner being and identify with what our spirit is seeing. Or if we could hear the muffled demon voice. Demon is a Greek word. It's connected with the word demon, but we pronounce it differently and it means something different. It means the guiding spirit within us. And the guiding spirit within us does speak to us, suggest things to us, give us warnings. But it's muffled. A voice that's muffled, you can't hear it very well because, there's something in the way. Yeah. And or if you want to keep something quiet, pirates used to, for their rowing boats, they used to muffle the oars. They would wrap cloths around the oars so that the oars wouldn't make a noise as they went into the water, that they could move very silently. So something that's muffled, you can't hear it clearly. But some people do hear that demon voice. And the Greek philosopher Sophocles has talked about it, that if the voice warns me to turn left instead of right, I have to obey it, I have to pay attention. So a foreseeing knowledge, we could have that foreseeing knowledge if we could be identified with our spirit within us, or if we could pay attention to that voice of the spirit which is giving us guidance. Alice.
Too seldom is the shadow of what must come cast in an instant on a secret sense which feels the shock of the invisible, and seldom in the few who answer give the mighty process of cosmic will communicates its image to our sight, identifying the world's mind with ours.
Yes. So for us ordinary human beings, it only happens very rarely, too seldom. Seldom is the opposite of often. Too seldom is the shadow of what must come, the shadow of the future, of what's going to happen next. It does cast a shadow in front of it, but we don't feel that. We don't feel that shadow touching the secret sense that we have within us, which can feel the shock of the invisible, which can feel the contact of something that we can't see with our physical eyes. These lines remind me of an anecdote the mother told about before she came to Pondicherry. She was walking in the mountains with some young people, and it was quite a narrow path with a rock on one side and a deep fall on the other, and they came to a place where they couldn't see around the path, but she felt something. She felt that there is some danger, and so she slowed everybody down, and carefully they walked round, and there was a poisonous snake. And she said, fortunately, she could feel that shock of the invisible, because otherwise if they'd just marched round and then that poisonous snake had been there and then something could have happened. So that happens, but too seldom. We don't notice. And among the few who do notice, the few who answer give, only a very few of them can get the communication of the process of the cosmic will, what the universe it wants and is doing, that can communicate its image to our sight, and then our individual human mind can be in touch with and be identified with the world's mind. The world has a mind and a will of its own. No? We have all our little wills. So to be in touch with that cosmic will and that world's mind, we have to be in a special state. It doesn't happen very often to ordinary human beings like us. Lorraine.
Our range is fixed within the crowded arc of what we observe and touch and thought can guess, and rarely dawns the light of the unknown, waking in us the prophet and the seer.
Yes. So we have a very limited range of perception of what we can notice and become aware of. An arc is part of the circumference of a circle. No? And he says our range is only a limited range, and it's fixed within this crowded arc where there's so many things going on, all these things that we observe, the things that we touch, and the things that our thought guesses. It doesn't really know, but it deduces. And because our attention is like that, fixed on the external scene, very, very rarely does the light of the unknown, all that vast unknown that is in the material universe and in the subtle worlds, very, very rarely does that light dawn in our consciousness. But if it does, then it wakes us up, wakes up our capacity to be a prophet in touch with the divine will and for the future, and the seer, the one who can see the inner subtle realities. It's the light of the unknown waking up in us that gives those capacities. Kamala.
The outward and the immediate are our field. The dead path in our background and support. Mind keeps the soul prisoner. We are slaves to our acts. We cannot free our gaze to reach wisdom, son.
Yes. So all these outward things and just what's close to us, what's going to happen next, that's our field of perception and of action. We're supported by a dead past. That's what we are, is our background and what is carrying us. The prophet and the seer, of course, can get some glimpses of the future, no? We don't even know what has happened in the past. It's dead to us. But still, it's our background and support. And because we are focused in our minds, the soul is like a prisoner in us, deep within us. And we are slaves to our acts, to all the things that we have to keep doing and that we can't stop doing because of the pressure of all those things that we've done in the past. So we are not able to free our vision, our gaze, to reach wisdom's sun, that sun of hidden powers which is digging a tunnel through emergency and creating the future.
Shraddhavan, then what does it mean that Shraddhavan say all life is yoga, but then here he says we are slaves to our action. Should be detached from the action.
Actually this phrase, all life is yoga, is just an extract from a much longer sentence. But I think what he's saying in that sentence is that although we don't know it, although we are not aware of it, all action in the world and everything that is happening in the world is moving towards our higher destiny, the higher destiny of each of us and of the world as a whole. Everything that happens to us is a part of that yoga which is going to reveal our oneness with the divine. Yoga means union, no? So it's leading us towards that union with our true divine self and with the true divine destiny. So it's in a way very comforting that he says, there's even a line here that our errors are his steps upon the way. Even the things that are mistakes, they're not wasted, they're not useless. They do carry that yoga forward. But we are still blind. We can't free our gaze to reach wisdom's sun because we are so absorbed with the outward and the immediate.
Will you read, please?
Inheritor of the brief and animal mind. Man, still a child in nature's mighty hands, in the succession of the moments lives, to a changing present is his narrow ride. His memory stares back at the phantom past. The future flees before him as he moves. He sees imagined garments, not a face.
So all we human beings, we are still children, quite small children. And nature is our nurse and our teacher. She's taking care of us. And while we are in this infant state, we live just in the succession of the moments, from moment to moment, whatever comes up. To a changing present is our narrow right. Just this succession of moments of the present. It's always changing. And we are not aware of what is behind, and we are not aware of what is ahead. The memory stares back at some kind of past, but that past is a ghost, and we can't even see it clearly. We don't really know what has happened in the past, even if we have some kind of a memory of it. And with every moment, we're moving into the future, and that future is running away from us. No? The future flees before him as he moves. So what we see is not the real being that is inhabiting this universe. We see coverings, garments, clothing, and even these, they are only what we imagine. We don't see the appearances as they really are. Do you like to read? Yes.
With a limited precarious strength, he saves his fruits of work from adverse chance. A struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate. He waits to see the consequence of his acts. He waits to weigh the certitude of his thoughts. He knows not what he shall achieve or when. He knows not whether at last he shall survive or end like the Maston and the slope, and perish from the earth where he was in.
Yes, that's so true, isn't it? We have only a very limited amount of strength and energy to achieve whatever we want to achieve. And it's precarious. We may lose it at any moment. But so that's why we are so keen to save the fruits of our work. Whatever small achievements we have, we cling onto them, no? And we're very upset when adverse chance, any unfortunate chance seems to take them away from us. We have some kind of acquired wisdom or instinctive wisdom, but the partner of that wisdom is the ignorance, the struggling ignorance, the ignorance which is trying to know. So every human being has to wait to see. We do our actions, but what will be the real consequence of them? We can't be sure. No? And we may have thoughts, and we think about what the future might lead to and what would be good and so on, but we don't know how correct those thoughts are. It may be only after decades that we find out whether our thoughts were correct or not. We don't know what we shall achieve. We may be striving to achieve certain things, but we don't know when or how or what we will be achieving. And especially, we human beings are not sure whether even our species is going to survive. Species have become extinct in the past, many of them. Among them the mastodon, this giant woolly mammoth, or the giant sloth. These are famous big, powerful beings who have dominated the earth at certain times in prehistory, and now there's no trace of them. Perhaps that's what will happen to humanity as well, and that we shall perish from this earth, where at present humanity is the ruling species. William, yes, please read.
He is ignorant of the meaning of his life. He is ignorant of his high and splendid fate. Only the immortals on their deathless heights, dwelling beyond the walls of time and space, masters of living free from the bonds of thought, who are overseers of fate and chance and will, and experts of the theorem of world need, can see the idea, the mind that changed time's course, come manned with light from undiscovered worlds, here, while the world toils on with its deep blind heart, the galloping hoofs of the unforeseen event, bearing the superhuman rider near and impassive to earth's wind and startled cry, return to the silence of the hills of God. As lightning leaps, as thunder speaks, they pass and leave their mark on the trampled breast of life.
Yes. So we human beings are ignorant of the meaning of our lives, and we don't know what is that high and splendid fate that we are supposed to achieve, which is waiting for us. Only the immortal beings who live on the higher levels of the universe, who live beyond the walls of time and space. It means beyond this manifestation altogether in the transcendent sphere. They are masters of living, and they are not bound as we are by the bonds of thought. They can oversee, they can look from a great height at fate and chance and will, all the forces that are at work here in our universe. They are experts of the theorem of world need. A theorem is a kind of formula about how things work. So they are experts. They know exactly the balance of the way things work in the world. And on their deathless heights, they can see new things coming to the earth. They can see the idea, a great creative idea coming. The might, a new power that can change the whole course of human time. They can see it coming like a huge horse, a mighty, powerful steed maned with light. A horse has a lovely flowing mane. That great power and idea is like a powerful horse with a mane of light. And it's coming from worlds that we know nothing about. Those immortals on their deathlit heights, they can hear it coming. Here we are on the world. We're just toiling on with our deep, blind heart. We don't know what is going on at all. But they can hear that the approach, the galloping hooves of that horse coming nearer and nearer, bringing the unforeseen event. Something is going to happen which we can't predict, which we have no idea about, but they can see it coming. No? That horse has a rider. Somebody is riding it, the superhuman rider. And they are coming near to the earth, and they are near to the earth just for a short time, and then they return. They go back, they return to the hills, the silence of the hills of God. That horse and its superhuman rider, that idea and that power, they come to the earth like lightning, like thunder, extremely powerful. But like the lightning and the thunder, they pass, they go away again. But they've left their mark on the trampled breast of life. Mother has shown this superhuman rider in the drawing coming near to the earth. No? And those galloping hooves, they bruise the trampled breast of earthly life. Things can never be the same again once they have come and gone. But we don't see all that coming. We can't even begin to imagine it. And when it's past, we don't know what has happened. Everything has changed and we have no idea how. So this moment when the superhuman rider nears and brings the idea and the might that change time's course, this is what Sri Aurobindo refers to as the hour of God and the hour of the unexpected. Be ready to stand on the sincerity of your purpose at that time. And let not worldly prudence whisper too closely in thy ear, for it is the hour of the unexpected. Things may change so radically, it's impossible for us to foresee them.
In this, the very first line, overseers, actually, what does it mean? It is as rishis or...
Well, the word says overseer. So in a factory, there will be all the workers and there'll be an overseer who's keeping an eye on everything and seeing that nothing goes wrong. So they are like that. They are like the overseers. But what they are watching is our material world of fate and chance and will. The different forces that are at work here. And they are experts. They know exactly what should happen. And they can see what's happening because they're seeing from above. They are immortals watching from their deathless heights. We'll stop there for today. The events that shape the appearance of our lives are a cipher of subliminal quiverings which rarely we surprise or vaguely feel, are an outcome of suppressed realities that hardly rise into material day. They are born from the spirit sun of hidden powers, digging a tunnel through emergency. But who shall pierce into the cryptic gulf and learn what deep necessity of the soul determined casual deed and consequence? Absorbed in a routine of daily acts, our eyes are fixed on an external scene. We hear the crash of the wheels of circumstance and wonder at the hidden cause of things. Yet a foreseeing knowledge might be ours, if we could take our spirit's stand within, if we could hear the muffled daimon voice. Too seldom is the shadow of what must come cast in an instant on the secret sense which feels the shock of the invisible, and seldom in the few who answer give the mighty process of the cosmic will communicates its image to our sight, identifying the world's mind with ours. Our range is fixed within the crowded arc of what we observe and touch and thought can guess, and rarely dawns the light of the unknown, waking in us the prophet and the seer. The outward and the immediate are our field. The dead past is our background and support. Mind keeps the soul prisoner. We are slaves to our acts. We cannot free our gaze to reach wisdom's sun. Inheritor of the brief animal mind, man, still a child in nature's mighty hands, in the succession of the moments lives. To a changing present is his narrow right. His memory stares back at a phantom past. The future flees before him as he moves. He sees imagined garments, not a face. Armed with a limited, precarious strength, he saves his fruits of work from adverse chance. A struggling ignorance is his wisdom's mate. He waits to see the consequence of his acts. He waits to weigh the certitude of his thoughts. He knows not what he shall achieve or when. He knows not whether at last he shall survive or end like the mastodon and the sloth and perish from the earth where he was king. He is ignorant of the meaning of his life. He is ignorant of his high and splendid fate. Only the immortals on their deathless heights, dwelling beyond the walls of time and space, masters of living, free from the bonds of thought, who are overseers of fate and chance and will, and experts of the theorem of world need, can see the idea, the might that changed time's course, come maned with light from undiscovered worlds. Here, while the world toils on with its deep, blind heart, the galloping hooves of the unforeseen event, bearing the superhuman rider near, and, impassive to earth's din and startled cry, return to the silence of the hills of God. As lightning leaps, as thunder sweeps, they pass and leave their mark on the trampled breast of life.